What is up, everybody? It is the second episode of the week of the Fake Baseball Podcast. Happy TGFBI Acceptance Day to all of you out there who celebrate. Dylan, did you check your email yet, bro?
I did check my email and I did not see an invite, so we're gonna have to talk about that. But yeah, I'm checking again right now.
All right, you will be in.
Still not a thing.
From Justin Mason, Mr. Justin Mason himself. Shout out to you, Justin, for putting TGFBI together every year. Last year was my first year in it. This will be my second year. It was an absolute blast last year. Granted, slow drafts are the bane of my existence. So being in that big of a draft with a 4-hour pit clock is just, it drags on. But you know what? At the end, it's really fun. You get the ability to meet a lot of new people in the industry, which is always fun. And you kind of get a chance to test your drafting skills and your fab skills and everything else against everybody else in your league and see just how well you can do. I think I finished 150th out of like 400 last year, right around there. It's not great. All the way up until pretty much the end of the year, I had like the number one overall offense in TGFBI, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
But I punted saves until farther in the draft, and I tried to get some steals. Like I drafted Daniel Bard. It was like the earliest closer I drafted, and then that dude got anxiety and didn't pitch for freaking 4 months, and then when he came back, he wasn't even the closer anymore. So that just absolutely screwed me. I was chasing saves on waivers every week, which is a terrible thing to do, especially in a fab league where it costs you money to add players. I got screwed, but it was an absolute blast. And
hoping I get that then.
Dude, I hope you do too, because I want to see who's in your draft. I want to see how you do. I'm not helping you with no picks. I want to see how you do.
That's fine. Who says I need your help anyways?
You don't need my help.
Nah.
I want to see where we both like stack up at the end of the year too. That'll be so cool. And I just want to shout out. I was talking to Dylan about this before. I am having one hell of a fucking week. I know we had Nick Pollock on Tuesday and we touched on it for a minute. But if you missed that last episode,
look like you're blushing.
I'm in disbelief still at the moment. So on Friday, I got announced as a finalist for the Fantasy Sports Writer Association Baseball Writer of the Year, which is pretty insane. Followed that up by having Nick Pollock on the Tuesday episode, which is pretty freaking cool. And then followed that up today by getting fucking invited to Tout Wars. So shout out me. I got to find a way to get my ass to Manhattan in 6 weeks for a draft.
Blake,
so
for those that don't know, what is that?
Tout Wars is like the fantasy league of all fantasy leagues. A lot of people dream of getting the ability to play in Tout Wars, and not many get the opportunity. And I was lucky enough to get a DM from Jeff Erickson asking me if I wanted to participate in Tout Wars this year. So I am mind blown right now. So we're recording this and I'm still in a bit of disbelief, but
that's awesome.
God, man, it's a
cool. That's a cool prestigious honor. It sounds like, and it just it goes. It's a testament to the work you put in, because you work your ass off for all this, man, and it's hard work paid off is really what it is.
I appreciate that, man. I do so much shit behind the scenes and everything.
You do,
like, to get like,
you really do.
Not that I do it for recognition, but to get recognition from a place I wasn't expecting to get recognition is always kind of a cool feeling. And then the other cool thing that happened this week, it works as like a perfect segue into the episode.
The Seahawks
Ariel Cohen.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Seahawks hiring a coach too. That's perfect. But Ariel Cohen, if you ever listen to this, shout out to you, my man. He DM'd me his number and had me call him, and I got to chop it up with probably the person I look up to the most in this industry. And I got to chop it up with him for a little while, which was incredible. And just based off of that, why not do an episode with Ariel's ATC projections for the upcoming season? I highlight some of the guys that we like the most. These projections are Fantasy Pros' most accurate projection system for like 4 or 5 years in a row. Every year that they have been put out publicly, they have been voted the most accurate projection system. So with that in mind, Steamer was cool. But it's ATC time, baby. Dylan, looking over those ATC projections, who is somebody from I mean, I don't want to say the list because obviously like it's all the players in baseball, but who is a projection that stands out to you for this coming season?
I and I bring it up because I've been talking about him the past couple of days now. People starting to sleep and forget about Vladdy Jr. a little bit, because I still view this guy as a premier bat in the league. I think he just battled some injuries last year, but he's only a couple years removed off of an MVP year at his like age 21, 22 season. He's still in, his youth years of his career, but I don't know. I kind of feel like he's already kind of being pushed off the shelf a little bit. Seen him slipping down here by names around like JT Remuto, no disrespect to JP Crawford. I love JP Crawford, but JP Crawford, Dansby Swanson, Yeah. What's your opinion on Vladdy?
I like him. I do agree that there was some kind of injury that was getting him last
year. Yeah. I looked up his injury history from last season. It was like 3 or 4 different things.
Yeah. And none of it ever seemed to be like any like crazy major injury. It was just like a bunch of minor little things that compounded together. Because
he was still playing too. I think he was still playing in like 150 games or whatever it was. He was just playing through it.
Yeah, 156 games last year. Home runs dropped for the 3rd year in a row, down to 26. I mean, essentially his career low. He had 15 in his rookie year in 123 games. We don't count the COVID year, but 26, down 6 from last year, which is down freaking 22 from 2 years ago. But there was so much stuff that he did that was still so good that the production should have been there.
Exactly.
The 92 mile an hour average exit velocity is still elite. 11% barrel rate is elite. His hard hit rate was just shy of 50%. Elite. His expected batting average last year was 291. That is the second highest of his career. His expected slugging last year was 494. That is the second highest of his career. His expected weighted on base average was 374 last year. That was the second highest of his career. So he had the second highest of his career in all of these expected metrics. His
with injuries,
was so good, and the injuries just zapped his power, which sucks. Like the home run hitting power, I should say, which sucks.
And for such a position prone to strikeouts, he doesn't really do that. He's never really struck out, I don't think, above 20% in his career. I could be wrong on that.
Nope, not even close, actually.
Yeah, I think he's usually having around that 15% mark, 17%. Like, yeah, I don't know. Because it's just, I have always viewed him as definitely as a premier player in the league, but I don't know if his defensive metrics really bring his WAR down and stuff like that. Defensive metrics, I don't know. They're kind of tough to really analyze and get a grip on. They're kind of weird. But, I still view Vladdy as one of the premier players in the league, and he's still only 24 years old.
Yeah, I agree. Also, what up, Papa Bear? I see you in the chat, and I saw you in the YouTube comments the other night. I appreciate the subscribe and checking us out in the live. If you guys are listening to this and you also want to check us out in the live, we go live on YouTube, Fake Baseball, live on Facebook. Just search out the Fake Baseball Podcast, and live on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you want to call it, at Fake Baseball. You can see our beautiful faces instead of just hearing our sexy ass voices. But ATC does have Vladdy projected to hit 280 this year with 31 dingers, 98 RBI, and my favorite, 6 steals. The big man can move.
Moving, big boy.
So combined, they have him for, 64 extra base hits this year while hitting 280. That's first or second round output from a fantasy baseball standpoint. And he's going a little later than that, I believe, currently. So it is weird to say that there's value in a guy that is getting drafted fairly early. But there is some value there because he is a prime bounce back candidate for this season. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he is very good. Don't let the 26 home runs from last year fool you. He's better than a 26 home run hitter. He does pull fly balls very well, which we talk about quite a bit. I am going to work on getting. We talk about pulled fly balls a lot and like average fly ball, exit velocity, all that. I love those. I have a way to break it down to where I can see the like average exit velocities on strictly pulled fly balls and all of this other stuff, which is cool. I did see, God, I can't remember who was talking about it on Twitter. Eric, I'm going to butcher his last name. Eric from NBC Sports. He posts about it quite a bit. He was just talking about how Isaac Paredes put up those big home runs numbers last year. He has a laughably ridiculous baseball savant page where everything he hit was just a pulled fly ball last year, and his average exit velocity on pulled fly balls was like 94 miles an hour, which is pretty significantly below league average. So he said this last season could have been, that could be it, like that could be the max. And so if you're going into a draft taking Isaac Paredes thinking like, man, he could push for 40 home runs this year, you could be sorely mistaken because like I said in our catchers episode, make sure you go back and check that one out. My big thing with JT Realmuto every year seems to be, I'm pretty sure last year was peak JT Realmuto. And where you're taking him this year, I think he's being drafted as the second catcher. You're drafting somebody hoping that they can have the best season of their career. Obviously, everybody you draft, in a perfect world, you hope they have the greatest season of their career. But that's not a good way to draft. And drafting somebody at their ADP based off of having a season that's probably going to be the best one they ever had, and this year is going to be even slightly worse, is not a good draft strategy. So I'm going to get that pulled fly ball data so we can come more correct with it. Maybe I'll work that into an article for somewhere as well coming up. That'd be a pretty cool article to write. But moving on from Vladdy, I kind of got off the rails there for a minute. I know you had somebody else, kind of your guy for this upcoming season that snuck his way onto our pre-show notes that you have your eye on for next season.
Yeah. It's been a while since we talked about him, and I'm trying to go back and find him here. Do you recall what number he was? But it's Lane Thomas. This is a guy who I was going through the projections here, and I trying to find it. I'll just search him up real quick. Again, like I just don't think they had the number of steals I would expect from him as a guy that profiles in such a high percentile in speed. Yeah, 94th percentile in speed. He made improvements at the plate, not to say that they were elite or great by any means, but they were improvements. Is, slugging went up, barrel went up, everything went up from 2022. And so I don't see why there's not a reason for him to make improvements again. Especially, I think he can steal the 30 bases easily with just the speed that he has. What number was he at? I can't find him on this list.
His ATC projection. Right now he is projected to hit 252 with 22 dingers, score 80 runs, steal 15 bases.
See, 22 dingers, I'm 30 dingers, like that'd be peak Lane Thomas. But 20, that low 20s mark, mid 20s, that's respect.
Yeah, they got him for 55 extra base hits for this coming season, 15 stolen bases. I agree. I think that's a little light for Lane Thomas. And I think his ADP reflects the lighter numbers rather than his upside. And so I think, again, value, like with Vladdy. I think there is value there with Lane Thomas because I do agree. I think he's all but a lock for a 2020 season again this year. I think he pushes over 25 home runs again. I like that 28 number from last year. I think he can push to 30. So he does have like 30-30 ability. He has 30-25 ability. And in a league where you typically play five outfielders,
on more steals.
Yeah, I agree. 15 steals just seems light.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's very difficult to find guys with 30-30 upside. I almost said 20-20. It's not very difficult to find 20-20 upside nowadays. It's pretty difficult to find 30-30 upside because 20-20 seems to have become the norm for these like higher tier upper echelon guys. 20-20 is within the grasp of a lot of people. 30-30 is a whole nother ball game. There you could probably count 8 players just off the top of my head that have 30-30 upside. But even then, who knows if they could do it. Bobby Witt Jr. did it last year by hitting 30 home runs, like at the end of the year. He even had to struggle to get to that 30th home run. But Lane Thomas, I do agree. I like the value there. I like the projection. I do think it's light. I think he outperforms that. I think he ends up closer to the season that he had last year.
Another guy I'm not sure how to feel about. It just off the top of my head, I've seen him on this list. What about Volpe?
Ooh, okay. I like Volpe. He may have had the quietest 2020 season of all time.
Yeah.
Plays for the Yankees. It's very likely that he hits leadoff for the Yankees this year. Although it is just as likely that he hits ninth. He's either going to hit first or ninth this year. It's not going to be much else. They did experiment with him at leadoff quite a bit last year. Obviously, he didn't have the batting average numbers you liked. He only hit 209, but 21 home runs, 24 stolen bases.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, that's a good jump right there. And ATC's got him projected 21 home runs, 25 stolen bases. So a very similar year to last year. They've got him dropping his K rate by almost 3%, which is cool. Hitting 234, sneaking in some doubles and triples. I got to stop saying he. Anthony Volpe has the ability to put up video game-like numbers. In 2022 in the minors between double and triple A, he hit 21 home runs and stole 50 bases. Or in 2022, excuse me. In 2021, he hit 27 home runs and stole 33 bases, all with a walk rate above 10% every year in the minor leagues. He's just so good. The potential is there. The ceiling is there. Nobody's going to take at bats from Volpe at shortstop. He's kind of their heir apparent there. They want that to work. So I like Volpe, and I don't remember his ADP, but I think he's going late enough that, again, value. We're going to preach value on this episode.
I can't imagine that you wouldn't be able to grab him in those mid-tier, late-tier, groups.
I think that 200 batting average is going to scare some people a little bit last year.
234 projected is a big jump.
It is, and I think, he has the potential to hit higher than that too. He did have a nice minor league batting average outside of AAA last year, but the skills and the tools are there. It's just taking that second year jump. So many guys take that second year jump and become absolute studs. Julio took a second year jump, fucking beast. Bobby Witt Jr. took a second year jump, beast. Adley Rutschman took a second year jump, beast. A lot of these guys, they just needed that year to kind of get their bearings about them. And then the second year is just blast off time. That's an old Workaholics reference. I'm not going to do the whole spiel about it, but I always got to work Workaholics in when I can. I think probably my favorite projection that I found, going a little farther down the list. Again, shout out Ariel Cohen for these ATC projections. I think he said he's updating them today, so some of these numbers may change a little bit by tomorrow if you're looking them up, but can't imagine they're going to change too much. But my favorite is actually Brandon Drury of the Los Angeles Angels. He has multi-position eligibility. In some leagues, he's got first, second, and third base eligibility, which is cool. We love multi-position eligibility. Flies kind of under the radar. ATC for next season has him projected to hit 255 with 52 extra base hits. And he's a guy that is being drafted as the 18th second baseman since January 1st in NFBC drafts. He's going around pick 216. So getting a guy at second base, which is the thinnest position in fantasy baseball, is second base. Getting a guy that's projected to hit 250 with 24 home runs, 26 doubles.
Yeah.
He's not really a base stealer. Okay strikeout rate, but he's going to hit about 260. That's a steal.
That's a lot to like.
There is a ton to like there. And again, value.
I mean, and if it flops, okay, he goes to waivers. You didn't really lose much.
Exactly. I'm perfectly fine with my guys that I picked in like the 17th round not working out, because at that point you're kind of drafting for upside rather than like, ooh, I think this guy's going to stick on my team all year. You're just drafting for upside. And again, like, it's a lot of swing and miss. You'll hit some good ones, and then the other guys just fucking send it to waivers. Who cares? You'll find better guys on waivers that didn't get drafted that flew under everybody else's radar. But Brandon Drury is mine. I think he needs to be on a lot of people's watch list for late in drafts. Don't take Brandon Drury with like the 130th pick and then DM me and be like, yeah, dude, I heard you say you like Brandon Drury, so I made sure that I got him. Like, don't do that, because I don't think that's a good pick. I think after pick 200, I think he's the type of player that if you don't want to get one of those big 5 second basemen and you want to wait, that's where Brandon Drury comes into play. You want to wait on a second baseman early in your draft, try and snag one later. Brandon Drury is that guy to snag later, and the ATC projections kind of lend to that being a good idea. And then the one that we haven't talked about so much, we've mentioned it
briefly.
I think with who was it that we did it with? Was it Torres? Chris Torres? I think we talked about it for a minute, because we talked about Elly with Chris Torres.
Third base, right?
Yep. So we're gonna mention Elly De La Cruz versus Oneil Cruz next year, because they have so many similarities, which I'm sure isn't new to a lot of people, but obviously they have the same last name. Both Cruzes, they're both 6 foot 5, 6 foot 7,
giants,
depending where you look. Yeah, they're huge. They play the left side of the infield. They are both. So in 2022, Oneil Cruz was the hardest throwing, fastest running, hardest hitting player in baseball. And then 2023, Elly De La Cruz was the hardest hitting, fastest running, fastest throwing player in baseball. They're both like the same age. They both have unlimited upside. Oneil Cruz got hurt last year after I think he only played like 9 games or something. Yeah, and he missed the entire rest of the year, so he gets overlooked a little bit. But their ATC projections for this coming year are, I think they're fairly similar. I got to pull them up real quick. Elly De La Cruz for this coming season, ATC has Elly projected to hit, shout out Fangraphs for all the ads, 248 with 21 home runs, 36 stolen bases with a 32% strikeout rate. Does that scream take me in the first round to you?
Nope. He hasn't all year, or this whole off season, I should say. I mean, haven't listened by now, go back and listen to previous episodes. We talked about infielders. I'm sure we'll mention Elly. This is guy that's not even a lock to make the opening day roster as far as we know. Like, sure, good spring training can help his case, but as of right now, if you've already drafted your teams going through all that and you have Elly De La Cruz on your team, man, I'd have my panties in a bunch, because I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure I want to take that swing on a guy coming off of I don't know how much you can expect from a rookie, but he showed his flashes, but that was fairly it. He showed little to no consistency at the plate. Strikes out were through the roof. Yeah, I'm not taking him that early. But the next guy on the list, I think I could wait on.
Yeah, so the next guy would be Oneil Cruz. And so I'm going to say their stat lines side by side, and then I'm going to tell you what their ADP is, okay?
Yeah.
So Elly De La Cruz, I already forgot his stat line, 36 stolen bases, 21 home runs, hit about 240, 250. Oneil Cruz, 247 with 23 home runs, 21 stolen bases. He is projected for 51 extra base hits in total. Elly De La Cruz from January 1st until right now on the NFBC is going at pick 23. Oneil Cruz is going at pick 76.
Bam. Taking that.
That seems like the most obvious. I'd rather have him that you could find right now.
That's what I'm saying. And before he did get hurt, like, I mean, is a small sample size. Oneil Cruz, 20% K rate. He's almost walking near the same, 17.5 walk rate. I mean, none of the other metrics are really satisfying yet, but like showed improvements in that part. Hit 250, a bomb, small sample size, but
yeah. And I mean, the Pirates have made some upgrades to their lineup as well. I mean, Cabrian Hayes just keeps getting better and better. Jack Sawinski's a good hitter for a young guy. I think Andrew McCutcheon's coming back, which is great. Didn't they sign Carlos Santana? Am I going crazy? I swear Santana signed back with.
Did he resign? That one might have slipped under me.
I
didn't even know Adam Frazier signed with the Royals. That one, that one went past me too.
Yeah, another fucking. They got another infielder. But yeah, it's like so. There's hitters around Oneil Cruz when he gets there. He'll have some protection in the lineup.
Yeah,
he'll be able to hit like with guys on base, and the fact that Elly De La Cruz and Oneil Cruz play in the same division, I think, is so cool. We get to see them play against each other quite a bit, which I love. Yeah, I think there's a good debate there. I think I understand the upside of Elly and what people see there, but I think people need to keep in mind that the upside of Oneil Cruz isn't that far off from the upside of Elly.
Yeah, like, the tools are all the same. I mean, Elly, I think, is going to profile to be a little bit faster, but I mean, damn near the same player.
Yeah, and so getting him 50 picks later, I think, makes a big difference. I'd rather have Oneil and take somebody else in the second round, like if you really want like a middle infield type, take like a Francisco Lindor in the second round, and then grab Oneil Cruz in the 5th or 6th round, and then you're
think
straight.
Of all and then you could fill out your pitching staff like I know all those tweener rounds. You could do a whole bunch of stuff.
I just want to shout out Papa and Baby Bear in the chat on YouTube. He said, I know you guys have a time schedule and already know what to talk about. Quick question. Am I crazy to think Gavin Lux could be the comeback player of the year?
Oh, yeah.
I feel
ACL,
people gave up on him.
I agree.
I agree. He has post-hype sleeper written all over him. He was the man 2 years ago.
What's his ADP right now?
Way late, I think. And I think he got named.
Is he going to be playing shorts? He's going to be their shortstop?
Yeah, he's going to be an everyday player in their lineup, I believe they came out and said. He hit 276 last year in 129 games. He doesn't have a ton of power. He only hit 6 dingers last year, 7 the year before. He doesn't steal a ton of bases. He only stole 7 last year. ATC has him projected to hit 266 with 10 home runs, 9 stolen bases. There is legitimate upside there. He is. If you're
associated in starting in that lineup, I'm all on it, especially in getting somebody that late too.
Yeah, and he showed some power in the minors. He hit 10+ home runs multiple seasons, so that's there. He stole 27 bases in the minors in 2017, so he's got some speed. Yeah, I like it. I think
I've been a fan of Gavin. I was a little disappointed to see him get hurt last year, but I can see it. I can see the vision.
But outside of that, we appreciate you guys listening to another episode of the Fake Baseball Podcast. Please make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and review on whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. Subscribe on the YouTube. We're putting out lots of good content on there, or at least I'm trying my damnedest to. At Fake Baseball Pod on YouTube, at Fake Baseball on TikTok, at Fake Baseball on Twitter. There's so many to try and remember. Or just look us up on Facebook at the Fake Baseball Podcast. You will find us there. And you can follow me on Twitter at Balake, Dylan at DLydell_09. And we will catch you guys next week.